going to make some.
Hello, and thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Jody Scholes. I am your instructor for today, and welcome. We are talking today about guidelines to a professional practice. Not fun. It can be super boring, but guess what? If you look at the content outline, if you look at the MBLEX content outline, which is available if you're a part of the patron community, we have it as a document right in there, but the Federation of State Massage Therapy Boards has a specific content outline, and in it, you'll see 15%, 12 to 15% of your test questions are on business practices. And then another 12 to 15% are on guidelines to a professional practice. So ethics, boundaries, dual relationships, terms like this. And so even though it is a somewhat dry topic, over about 30 questions on your test is going to be about business practices, ethics, morals, principles, guidelines to that professional practice, business practices, hygiene, these types of things. So it's really important to actually have this vocabulary and be familiar with these topics. So today's class is guidelines to a professional practice. It's going to be covering those topics, some of those topics. There is 2 full modules, 2 full 1-hour modules in the Online Learning Center on guidelines to a professional practice. So you'll get a taste of it here, and you can do more later. So today's class, as I mentioned, the bulk of it is going to be about the content. And at the end, we're going to answer a few questions. We're going to do some dissecting of questions. And before we roll right into the content, I do like to give you a bit of insight in the first part of class as to the importance of understanding the MBLEX. Because to be honest, you guys went through massage school. And what that tells me is that you actually know the material. You know this information. It might be buried deep in your head. That's okay. You know it, it's in there, and we're gonna just remind you of what you've already learned and give you some more learning. But where students have a bit of trouble, I don't want to say, well, they get tripped up, is that they don't understand the type of test the MBLEX is. It's 2 hours. And I know a lot of you who are watching right now have already taken it, so you know that. But here's the challenge with a 2-hour test, a 2-hour online test. We have to build your test-taking stamina. Most people are not equipped with their mind to stay focused for 2 hours. Can you sit down and read for 2 hours? Bravo if you can. That's awesome. But when we read on our own, we can get up and take breaks. We can drink some water. We can have a snack. With the test, with the MBLEX, you have to sit in one spot for 2 hours, about 1 hour and 15 minutes, actually. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes to kind of log in and get going. But that's a long time to be looking at questions and truly understanding what they're asking, and then looking at 4 answers and finding the best answer. Sounds really straightforward. Everybody's taken a multiple choice test some point in their life, right? No big deal, right? Wrong, wrong. This is a big deal. This MBLEX exam, they call it an entry-level exam, but it is more than entry-level. Anybody practicing right now who's taken this test will tell you, oh yeah, that's way more than entry-level. So we need to understand that we do need to prepare with our content. We need to understand the material like anatomy, physiology, kinesiology, benefits, pathology, all that stuff, right? Yeah, we're going to cover that stuff. Business practices today. But you really need to build your test-taking stamina. And when we go through a test too quickly, or we go through a quiz too quickly, we sometimes miss little parts that'll tip us off as to the best answer. We've talked already about how the MBLEX purposefully puts in answers to distract you. It's so you find the best answer, because this is critical thinking, right? There might be 2 right answers in those answers. So we can't just pick the first one. And this is important. This has the foundation. Your ability to do this has its foundation in your test-taking stamina. And I'll come back to this over and over again. We've got to build that muscle. We've got to build that faith, that hope, that belief, and the focus, the bringing our attention back to the task at hand, coming back to our breath. These are all parts of building test-taking stamina. Being able to recognize when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling bored, when you're in a hurry. Slow down. Take your time. You've got 1 hour and 50 minutes, 2 hours to finish this test. And for those of you who've taken the test, there you know there's a little ticker in the corner to make you a little nervous. I know. But when you feel that, just breathe. Just breathe. Feel your feet on the floor. Even now, just practice. Take a breath. Take a breath and hold it for 3 seconds. In, 2, 3, exhale. One more time. Feel those feet on the floor as you take that breath in. We're here right now. We're present. Everything that happened this morning is gone. Everything that happened earlier in the day, yesterday, gone. We are here, prepared to learn, prepared to be no place else but right here. And that's what we bring to the MBLEX, our ability to focus. We're not white knuckling. Oh my God, I hope I get it this time. No, we're staying really present, staying very present. In fact, if you're the praying type, if you're the talking to God type, talk to God during the test. Hey, sometimes when you take on a goal that's really big, you need a partner. You need somebody to help. But I'm here for you to help. And so is your understanding, the God of your understanding. So that's another kind of woo-woo part of this. The fact that you went to massage school tells me you're meant to practice massage. So you're gonna. It's just a matter of when. I really believe that. All right. So let's get on to our content. Woo-hoo. So we're talking today about the guidelines to a professional practice. Let's go. All right. So some of this stuff you may say, holy mackerel, I don't remember learning this in massage school. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. But most of this is going to sound very familiar. We are recording, and so you can go back again and again and listen if there's a new term for you. And some of these terms might be new, and you won't see all of them on the MBLEX, but you'll probably see some of them. So we're going to be talking about standards of practice in massage therapy, some definition of those terms. As I said, we'll be covering guidelines to a professional practice. We can talk about so many different guidelines, but we've picked a few big ones today. And then we're going to talk about the ethical practice of massage and make you aware of the code of ethics. This is stuff that at some point you probably did cover in school. So we're going to be talking about definitions. Here's our outline for this morning, for this afternoon, or if you're listening later this evening. We're going to revisit the NCB-TMB and talk about what's relevant about the NCB-TMB. We're going to talk about guidelines to that professional practices, terms like dual relationships, boundary crossings, and whatnot. All right, let's jump in. Principles. Principles, not the guys in high school. Principles are rules or laws of behavior that enable, so these are rules or laws of behavior. Principles. What are our principles? So I believe that respect and kindness are two of the most important principles my parents taught me. Principles. So these are the rules of behavior, our own personal rules, our principles that enable us to behave with integrity. Integrity. It's the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles. Now, see how these things flip? Yeah, when we get to dissecting the questions, it's going to be like, oh my goodness. But we're covering the definitions and you can get to the best answer. So 3 levels of integrity are keeping an agreement, being true to your principles, being true to yourself. But this is the quality, integrity is the quality of being honest, the quality of having moral principles, moral uprightness. So what are morals? Morals are a person's standards of behavior or beliefs. Now, is everybody's morals the same? No, right? So it's our standard of behavior, our standard of beliefs, what's acceptable and not acceptable. So Aristotle said, moral excellence comes about as a result of habit. We become just by doing just acts, temperate by doing temperate acts, brave by doing brave acts. So we become better students as the result of the habit of being a student. So just the fact that you're here today means that you are practicing a good habit of studying. I've mentioned the book I'm reading right now called Atomic Habits. And that book says if you get just even 1% better today, that's enough. Values, another definition. The principles and beliefs that influence a particular group. So a value system you may have heard of. So it's the principles and beliefs that influence the behavior and ways of life of a group or community. It also can be considered important and lasting beliefs, ideals, shared by cultures. What's good or bad in a culture, what's desirable or undesirable in a culture. And look, there are different cultures that have different value systems, right? I mean, if you've traveled outside the United States, you may have experienced this, that certain cultures have a value for different things. Like in India, the cow, it's a sacred cow. I mean, that's a different value system than we have here in the United States. Standards of practice, this is a wide term. So standard of practice. They're the guidelines used to determine competent massage therapists, but it's a benchmark, a level of care, a degree of excellence. Massage therapists are responsible for and accountable for the individual client, that quality of the client's experience by our standard of practice. How are we going to practice? We are going to create a certain standard of practice. And there are some for our industry that have been defined. Actually, we'll cover some of those today. Here we go. One of those standards of practice is professionalism. And so what does professionalism mean? It can show up in what we wear, our attire. It can show up in our timing. Do we start and end on time? These are examples of professionalism. Another standard of practice, a benchmark, is that as massage therapists, we comply with all of the legal requirements in our jurisdiction. And this can be a moving target. Yeah. When I opened my practice, I had my license to practice massage. I needed a business license to practice massage for my state. I needed a therapist license in my state. So I had my license, right? I had passed the NBLEX. I had to apply to my state to get my massage therapy license. Then I had to get a business license in my county. And I had to get a business license in my town. So you may have multiple layers of legal and ethical requirements. Here's a map of where people can practice massage therapy, or massage therapy is practiced. This particular map shows still a couple of states that don't have a license to practice massage. Vermont, no license. Kansas, no license. Wyoming and Minnesota, they have counties that require a massage license, but the state itself does not. Crazy, right? Yeah. But people are practicing massage without a license. And like, for example, in Minnesota, almost all of the massage therapists have passed the NBLEX and are practicing massage therapy after passing the test. Did they need to? Not to get their license. In some counties they do. But this is it's a standard of practice. We want to all be on this level. We all want to be practicing legally, ethically, meeting a certain standard. This is a map from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics of the highest concentrations of massage therapists. And California, Texas, Florida, New York, those are some of the states that have a lot. In Washington State have a lot of massage therapists. Colorado, the dark green on this are the highest concentrations, which you can see from the legend at the bottom. All right, let's move on to standard number 3, confidentiality. What does it mean? All right, you have to keep what's said in the treatment room, unless it's going to harm a child. Literally, if there is child abuse going on, then we have to tell somebody. We're legally required. But confidentiality is bigger than just the treatment room. It has to do with complying with using medical release forms and following HIPAA, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. So it's HIP, like the anatomical hip, HIPAA. So the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. And so what that says is that unless a client has signed a release form, you cannot share any of their information, even if it's with their doctor. These medical release forms allows doctors and other medical professionals to share information. But otherwise, all of that information, their health intake form, your SOAP notes, all of that is considered confidential. And the conversation you have in the treatment room also. Business practices. I threw this slide in here because I wanted you to be familiar with the terms. Also, puppies are cute. So a little relief on the brain here early on. In your business practices, there is a standard. So to provide a physical setting that's safe, maintain adequate liability insurance. If you are a member, when you're a member of AMTA and ABMP, it is a part of your membership. Massage Magazine offers liability insurance. Wherever you get your health insurance, wherever you get your car insurance, they also sell business liability insurance. We have to maintain that. Even if you're a sole proprietor, just become a member of AMTA or ABMP. You get it automatically. Business practices, best practices are also to maintain soap notes. I know, it takes time. I still do soap notes. Yeah. Remember what SOAP stands for? If you remember what SOAP stands for, stick it in the chat. So also a part of best business practices, display your schedule of fees or discuss your fee schedule in advance of the session so that it's clearly understood by the client. Okay, yes, S stands for subjective, and we've got OAP. Can you remember what the OAP stands for? Stick it in the chat if you do. So the schedule of fees. If you're charging more to do a visit at a person's home than you do in your office, then that needs to be upfront. That needs to be discussed as the appointment is being made. I recently increased my rates. And so I gave all of my clients the opportunity to go ahead and have one more session at the old rates, but then the new rates kicked in. I was charging $100 for a 1-hour session. Now I charge $125. But I was forthcoming with that. I sent out a postcard, I sent out an email, I sent out a note. I told them in person. So, and very good, Charlie, yes, OAP is objective assessment and plan. So subjective, S. Objective, subjective, what did they tell you? Objective, what did I observe? Assessment is after the session. That's the majority of the SOAP. What did you do? What did you treat? What did you find? And then the plan, P, the treatment plan going forward. And let me make a big plug for setting up that client's next appointment right there and then at the end of their session, as they're paying, as they're leaving. Would you like to go ahead and set up your next session? Best business practices also have to do, and kitty cats are fun too, so I put kitty cats in this one. Make clear financial arrangements in advance. No, oh, let me pay you next week. No, it needs to be clear financial arrangements. Do you take credit cards? Do you take checks? Do you take Venmo? Do you take PayPal? That leads into another standard is following acceptable accounting practices. You gotta pay taxes. I'm sorry, you live in the United States, you live anywhere. We actually do pretty good on our taxes here. If you haven't paid taxes, please start now getting your financial life back in order, because we will follow acceptable accounting practices and file all municipal, city, state, federal taxes when we practice. And you got to keep good records. Now is the time to put on your big boy pants. Yep, your big girl panties. Yep, and actually start keeping your financial health as good as your physical health and as good as the health you want to promote. All right, moving along. Next standard of practice. I told you this was good stuff, right? Yeah, next standard of practice, roles and boundaries. All right, so ethical boundaries, a professional role, boundaries between you and the client. And well, let's talk about boundaries. Boundaries, if we were talking about countries, we'd be talking about a fence, right? So something that says, this is my space, that is your space. This is the United States, that is Canada. So with these roles and boundaries, we need to be able to express. We're going to talk a little bit later about dual relationships, and that can be where boundaries get a little clouded. If you've known your client prior to working on them, maybe you're working on your mom, maybe you're working on a friend that you were friends before you started doing massage. We need to have a clear role when we put on our massage therapist hat, you are no longer the daughter or the son. You are no longer the friend. Serious. You've got to put on that massage therapist hat to have clear boundaries. And this also goes with maybe you're working on the person you're romantically involved with. No monkey business on the massage table. Yeah, serious. None. No inappropriate touch on the massage table. If this is someone you have had a relationship with in the past and they are now on your massage table, you put on your massage therapist hat. Later on, if something wants to happen, leave the massage room, leave the massage table. That is sacred space. It is sacred space. Let's not confuse it by confusing your role or having loose boundaries. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. Dual relationships, examples we've given, like social seeing a client at a relation. And so sometimes they're unexpected dual relationships. So you have a client and you see them at the restaurant. You are related, as we mentioned. Maybe you're buying some goods or services from them. Maybe it's your lawyer or your dry cleaner or your accountant. Any relationship outside the therapeutic relationship can be called a dual or multidimensional relationship. But we're going to keep our massage therapist hat on, because as a massage therapist, it's also our responsibility to keep that client-therapist relationship confidential. Some clients are a little uncomfortable if people know they get massage. Maybe you have a male client and you see him at the grocery store with his lovely girlfriend. And you're not in your normal massage, uniform. Maybe you're casual. Oh, hey, John. And Mary says, hey, John, who's that? So we have to allow that client to initiate the contact. It's a part of maintaining confidentiality. But in dual relationships, we already know them. So we just don't talk about the massage therapy. Another term to know is transference. And this is when clients transfer feelings to their therapist. So feelings are transferred from the client to the therapist. And this is usually as a result of sometimes it's a childhood experience, sometimes it's just an experience. Yeah. And they'll be like, oh, you look like my fourth grade teacher. I didn't like my fourth grade teacher. I don't like you. Okay. But that's transference, and that's all about the client. So it's usually a significant experience or a person in their life, but transferring. So the client is transferring a feeling from the past to today and transferring it towards you. Countertransference is when the massage therapist is transferring to the client. Countertransference. So maybe when we have had an experience and someone walks in looking like our fourth grade teacher. So it also can be, in the example that I've given in this recording, a guy is like punching at his cell phone. And this is the massage therapist having unresolved feelings about a client. If you're feeling this way about a client, we need to get to the bottom of that. So, but countertransference is when the therapist is transferring an unresolved feeling to that client. Roles and boundaries also include refraining from practicing under the influence of alcohol And also our right to refuse service for anyone who may have been using alcohol, is under the influence, seems not quite right, or who's like just being rude or abusive. So roles and boundaries include us agreeing to saying we're not going to practice massage after we've been drinking or smoking, and then also our right to refuse working on someone. I used to get on a counter as a kid. So that's how I remember it. Oh, okay, very good. Yes. So Charlotte is saying I used to get on a counter as a kid. And so that's how I remember counter is my transference. Yes. So counter transference. So counter transference is simply coming from the therapist to the client, transference client to the therapist. Moving along in our slides here, we also want to understand our scope of practice. Scope of practice is a term that refers to what is within our legal and ethical boundaries. We do not diagnose, we do not prescribe, and we also don't counsel. Some clients, when they come in, could benefit if they're going through post-traumatic stress. They could benefit from seeing a professional such as a licensed clinical social worker, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, but that is not within the scope of our practice to counsel, to give dietary advice or exercise advice is getting into a big gray area as far as the scope of our practice. That is not what we were trained to do. We were trained to do massage therapy. Maybe you have other certifications or licenses that allow you to offer additional feedback, but be careful on scope of practice. And yes, just be careful. All right. Final standard of practice, prevention of sexual misconduct. So as massage therapists, we realize that the therapeutic relationship can create the illusion of intimacy. So the standard is the therapist shall refrain from any behavior that sexualizes or appears to sexualize the client-therapist relationship. And vice versa is true. The prevention of sexual misconduct is also that the client will not sexualize the session, that they will be receiving a therapeutic massage. Warren Buffett said it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. We need to be careful when we practice massage. It comes back to those roles and boundaries, right? Putting on your massage therapist hat. Being very clear about the ethics, very clear about the boundaries. Ethics are moral principles that govern a person's behavior. And different people have different ethics, right? As a nation, we have rules and laws, but ethics are the moral principles that govern a person's behavior. That, my set of ethics might be different than another person. The NCB has a code of ethics, and I'm not going to take the time to go into that right now, but you can visit that at ncb.tmb.org. And basically just says, we have the public trust in mind. Our Federation of State Massage Therapy Boards, the laws of your state, the laws of your county are all put in place with the public's benefit in mind, to protect the public. So that's why we say that the code of ethic, we will act in a manner that justifies the trust from the public, trust and confidence. It will enhance the reputation of this profession, and it'll safeguard the interest of the individual client. moving along. So the NCB has a code of ethics. And if you want to read more about dual relationships, there's a great article that I can post in our community to the guidelines to respecting boundaries, the don'ts of dual relationships. So, and that's by Claudia Duane. I do not know her. I do not have any ties to her, but I thought it was a great article. So these are a few examples of the dual relationships we've already covered. So seeing someone at the gym, seeing someone at the grocery store, maybe you're doing a race and you see someone, one of your clients is also doing the 5K. It takes a hot second to see how much inappropriate behavior is out there. Just Google it if you want to, prove to yourself that it is a slippery slope. And we need to err on the side of caution. We need to be squeaky clean because there's no one else in that treatment room except you and your client. And we don't want to get into a he said, she said type situation. We're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive onto this dual relationship thing because, as I've mentioned, intimacy can be mistaken for affection. It's like a teacher and a student. You've got the power differential. As far as intimacy, handshake or a hug. I mean, I've had therapists come up to me and say, oh, I'm a hugger. And I'm like, yo, I mean, I'm a hugger too, but like, it can feel weird. Decide ahead of time. What is your policy? Look, I had a client who freaking kissed me smack dab on the mouth. 80 years old. I had to tell him, no way, dude. Sorry, I can't do that. We're not in Europe, Maybe, a kiss on the cheek. I was so taken aback. I didn't know what to, I was like, oh my God, it's so uncomfortable. But I had to tell him, no, that's actually, we can't do that. In that case, I did hug him, but goodness gracious. Another dual relationship is don't borrow money from a client. This is all in the code of ethics, the NCB, all of these guidelines. Don't borrow or don't lend money to a client. Don't set up an account for them. It makes the relationship blurry. Can you understand how that might be weird? Oh, but he's going to give me a loan to open my practice. No, then he can't be a client. There's your solution. Borrow money, but they can't be a client. Also, don't, watch out for insider trading. That's what, if you hear about deals that are going down, it's another dual relationship. And also be very, very careful about bartering. If you decide to barter hour for hour, not dollar for dollar. I have been told a story about a therapist who bartered with her lawyer. Lawyer charged $300 an hour. Every time that lawyer did anything, she owed him 3 massages. Doesn't really work. You got to go hour for hour if you decide to participate in that, not dollar for dollar. As we move into some of our questions here shortly, I want to just cover a couple other dual relationships. This is a sticky situation, but it has come up. I'll tell you about these emotional dependency needs. Sometimes our clients start to become emotionally dependent on us, and we have to have clear boundaries. Have to have clear boundaries. Stay very professional. It's half of the time, it's your demeanor, your body language that sets this boundary. But in this example, it got a little sticky. Client has terminal diagnosis of cancer, and she's a widow. She's got a 5-year-old daughter. She has no next of kin, and she's given her daughter up for adoption. And she brings this to the massage table. We see all kinds of things, you guys. This is crazy. However, the client notices that her massage therapist is just lovely, just relating to her kids so well, in the waiting area and whatnot. And the client has overheard the massage therapist talking about a personal matter to adopt a child. The client asked the massage therapist if she'd consider adopting her daughter. I'll leave that one with you. No right or wrong answer there, I think. We talked about unplanned relationships. For example, a teacher found out that his daughter was dating a student. He explained his role as his dad comes first. These are unexpected, unintentional dual relationships. But our role first is as that client's massage therapist. So if you decide to take on a client, your first relationship is as that massage therapist. So I don't think we talk about altruism is when you get gifts from a client. But let's just take the bull by the horns on this one and talk about dating clients. AMTA, the Code of Ethics, NCB, TMB says you got to wait 6 months. If you meet someone through your massage practice, you have to wait 6 months before you can date them. I don't know if that's arbitrary or what, but don't do it. Don't date your clients. If you dated them before, that's a different story. But if you met them as a massage therapist, you can't date them. If you really, really want to date them, they can't be a client. It's just not fair to them. You have such the upper hand. They cannot be a client. So you get to pick, date them or they're a client. All right, so these are questions we can ask about the secondary relationship. Is their objectivity impaired? All of these are part of your guidelines to maintaining a professional practice. And a couple other terms, boundary crossing and boundary violation. Those are two terms you may see on the MBLEX. The boundary crossing is when there's a secondary relationship. It's not necessarily harmful, that boundary crossing. It's another word sometimes for dual relationship. We crossed a boundary, but it didn't violate a boundary. All right. Seeing someone at church would be an example of a boundary crossing. Dating your client would be an example of a boundary violation. Now, boundary crossing or boundary violation, texting your client from your cell phone, texting a client. Is that a boundary crossing? Is it a boundary violation? This is a gray area, right? Because sometimes our clients prefer to have their confirmation via text, not from a personal phone. The best practice in this case, not from a personal phone. In this example, if you can see the screen, the text message says, "Oh, I've been thinking about you every second since you've left." What the hell? Oh my goodness, no. That would be a boundary violation. Yeah, no. All right, we're almost done with this section, and then we're going to dissect some questions. So who's the NCB TMB? We're going to fly through this because I hope you already know, but they're the National Certification Board of Therapeutic Massage and Bodywork, possibly the worst acronym ever, NCB TMB. They are a national association for board certification. So once you've passed the MBLEX, if you want to take another test, you can take the national certification for exam to become board certified. And I'm telling you the truth, when you pass the MBLEX, you might as well go take this test because all of it's right in your head. And then you can become a board certified. It's kind of nice to say that though, board certified massage therapist. This organization recognizes therapists that have done more than the minimum. Yeah. So and there's all sorts of prep for this. You know, you can go on their website and take a practice exam and see what's covered. But by studying for the MBLEX, I'm telling you, you're basically preparing for this test. So you get board certification, and that recognizes you as more of an expert in the field. They also determine who provides continuing education. Although the board, the Federation of State Massage Therapy Boards is starting to get into that game, but you normally need an approved provider, which if you ever thought about teaching, this is where you would get your certification to teach a class from the National Certification Board of Therapeutic Massage and Bodywork. You apply with the curriculum, with the lesson plans, and you can become an approved provider and offer continuing education credit. All right, woo, good job. Time to change gears. Time to change gears. All right, shake it out, shake it out, shake it out. We're gonna put all that good learning into practice with some practice test questions. We've only got about another 8 minutes together, so hang in there. Thanks for hanging in there, and here we go. This is where you'll use the chat if you want to. You don't have to. We're going to do a little matching. So match the word to the definition. We just learned all these words, and they're maybe a little confusing, but we're gonna go through them one more time. All right, blank is the study of moral principles and right conduct. It can be applied to individuals, groups, or professions. Blank is the study of moral principles and right conduct. All right, so we know our test taking strategy. When it comes to dissecting questions, we got to eliminate some wrong answers. So let's look. H, goodwill, no. Integrity? That's more individual, right? Blank is the study of moral principles and right conduct. Professionalism? Nope. Laws. Are laws a study? Laws are not a study. Okay, so nope. Morals is the study of moral principles and right conduct. That would be weird. Principles. Principles is the study of moral principles. That would be weird. Values is the study of moral principles and right conduct. It can be applied to individuals, groups, or professions. Ethics. Ethics is the study of moral principles and right conduct. It can be applied to an individual, group, or profession. So I think the best two answers are A and B. That would be my, that would be my thought. So you can pick A or B, but we'll give you 5 seconds to put it in the chat. I'm looking at my 5-second clock here. And the answer is, oh, here we go. What do we got? What do we got? I know, you just got to put yourself out there. 50-50 chance. That's what I like about eliminating all the wrong answers. So we have, and the correct answer is A, ethics. Yay. Now, you see how we had all those answers and we got to the 2 best answers? But we had to kind of go through each one, right? The study of moral principles and right conduct that can be applied to individuals, groups, or professions is ethics. All right, here we go again. The quality of the image you display is ethics. The quality of the image you display is values. Principles, morals. The quality of the image you display is laws. No, unless you have a very strict upbringing. So not laws. The quality of the image you display is professionalism. The quality of the image you display is integrity. The quality of the image you display is goodwill. Ooh, we got answers coming in, answers coming in. Let's see. Oh, okay. Nice. Look at you guys. All right, let's see. And the answer is professionalism. Yes, the quality of the image you portray is professionalism. Now, I use this question because you may be asked about being a professional. Are you a professional therapist? That's a different question, right? You may be asked about the profession of massage therapy. Different question. But the quality of the image you portray is professionalism. Yes. Good job. All right. Blank are tangible and intangible convictions that an individual considers of intrinsic worth. Blank, tangible and intangible convictions. So these are convictions. So we know it's not laws, right? We know it's not goodwill. Intrinsic worth and in convictions that an individual considers of intrinsic worth. All right, let's go through ethics. We've already had the answer of ethics, so probably not, but ethics are tangible and intangible. Values are tangible or intangible. Principles are tangible and intangible convictions. And those aren't intangible, they're pretty clear. Morals are tangible and intangible convictions that an individual considers of intrinsic worth. Not laws. We already did professionalism. Integrity are tangible and intangible convictions that an individual considers of intrinsic worth. Well, we got a bunch of answers in there, you guys. And you may find this. So get rid of the ones you know. Not goodwill, not professionalism, not laws. We've already used ethics. We've already used another one. All right, see some answers coming in. 5 seconds. I like it, Jessica. I like it. I think that's right. All right, and the correct answer is values. Oh, morals would have been a good answer too. I'm just saying. But we had so many there. Your values are defined as tangible and intangible convictions. But your morals are that too, that an individual considers of intrinsic worth. See how there's 2 right answers? Yeah, but in this case, values, I guess, is a little bit better. All right. Come back to me, Jessica, come back to me, because blank compromise an individual's code of action and enable a person to behave with integrity. Blank. So let's get rid of goodwill, comprise an individual's code of action. No. Integrity comprise an individual's code of action. Not professionalism, not laws. So we've already used ethics. Blank comprise an individual's code of values, comprise an individual's code of action. We just used that, right? Principles, morals comprise an individual's code of action. Let's see. And the winner is principles. See how principles, morals, and values? Principles, morals, I know it can be a little confusing. But I'd rather you be confused and frustrated right now, right here with me, than seeing this for the first time on the test. Yeah, so principles comprise an individual's code of action, enable the person to behave with integrity. All right, the judgment of goodness and badness of human behavior and character is called not goodwill, not laws, not professionalism. So the judgment of good and bad, that's the key here. And I think that's going to be the key when you are seeing this on the MBLEX. Good and bad directly relate to this particular word. And that's how maybe we can remember it. Okay, what do you think? I love it. Jessica, yes. Morals, the judgment of goodness and badness of human behavior is defined of morals. And I think that's the easiest way to remember it. Oh, goodness, we have one more. Okay, I thought we were done. One more. If you need to go right at 1 o'clock, it's now 1 o'clock, so you can hit the road, 1 o'clock Eastern. So match the word to the definition. Blank are codified rules. Codified. What does codified mean? It means coded, written down, like written in stone. Blank are codified rules of conduct set forth by a society, generally based on ethicals and moral principles. Let's see what we got lots of people jumping in here. Written down, rules. Bang, bang, bang. You guys are getting it. And the winner is laws. Yes, laws, letter E, laws are codified rules. And that's how you distinguish. Laws are written down. They're a code of conduct, right? Set forth by society. Yeah. Whoop, whoop. Yay. Fist bump. Whoop, whoop. Fist bump. You're done. You're good. Congratulations. That was a subject that you probably haven't thought of in your brain for quite some time. So thank you for hanging in there with me. If you're live in class, you can hang out. I'll take some questions. But for those of you who are listening, thank you again so much for taking this time to get ready for the MBLEX, to get ready for your future, for being a massage therapist. I am cheering for you. I am holding you in the light. I am seeing you as a licensed massage therapist. You got this. And your time, your dedication, and your effort will be well rewarded. So bye for now. See you next week. My name is Jody Scholes. I'm your MBLEX instructor, and we'll see you again soon.